Good morning, everyone. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start. So for this week, we had to go look at Appendix K in our book and just kind of review the administrative counseling duties that are on there, but relate them to our teaching and what we do and what we feel maybe that we either shouldn't be doing, or it's not really related to our teaching or our class management, or our overall job description as when we got hired in the little pamphlet that we signed for our contract. So I just kind of reviewed it, and I do think that because I teach pre-K 3, it's very different from the older grades and the other actual grades in the class, in the school, because I feel in pre-K 3, they don't really put a lot of responsibility, on us. We do have a lot of responsibility with the kids. We have to keep them alive and survive and so on, and make sure they don't have an accident and things like that. And but those are different responsibilities compared to, I feel, the upper grades, because I've taught in 3rd and 5th grade at this campus here, and it's just very different. And also the workload and the paper load is very different too. I feel in pre-K 3 we don't have a lot of paperwork that I normally had in the upper grades. I had I did have tutorials. I had more special POP documentation like RTI 504, and I had the non-LEP class. The LEP class, the bilingual class at those times, and now I just have the general ed class. And since it's pre-K 3, most of the times they're still too little to be diagnosed with anything, so we kind of just have to accept them and accept it how it is, and just kind of work with them as the school year progresses. But going into what we were reviewing in our book, I had noticed a few things. I'm like, maybe I'll just talk about these because I feel I can relate to them. So one of them was the supervisory duties. I was going over it, and well, it is normal for teachers to have supervising duties where we're doing our lunch duty. Actually, we don't have lunch duty here. The paras have lunch duty, but I'm talking about the morning duty. We have morning duty, and then after school duty. In the morning, we have to go to the hallway, to our assigned area, and we just have to be there by 7:45. Or sometimes, if it's your week to cover that area, then you have to get here earlier by 7:15. But I feel everyone does that. And then after school, we have go to our assigned areas as well. And let me go to the next part here. Coordinating and monitoring school assemblies. That was part of one of them. And I want to talk about this one because, for example, this one, I feel it's not related to pre-K at all. So the STAR is coming up. We're going to have a STAR pep rally for the students in the upper grades, in the testing grades, in about 2 weeks. And they're having all the other grade levels just color a little coloring page so that they can glue like onto a little baggie, and then give the students snacks for when they test. But pre-K 3 and pre-K 4, we're responsible for having to decorate the whole gym. I don't mind because the theme is Stranger Things this year, and I love Stranger Things. It's my favorite show. But at the same time, the other teachers do kind of mind as well. I do understand the point of view, their perspective, because one, why does pre-K have to decorate the gym? I don't think it's the same responsibility as the other grades where they just color the page and that's it. But we have to make posters, we have to set up a thing, we have to get little prizes and things like that, which is very, I think, out of the ordinary, because we have nothing to do with the upper grade, the testing grades. So I'm not sure why that responsibility is given to pre-K, because this was the same thing last year. When I did the older grades, I don't remember who decorated the gym, but I find that odd. I don't understand why we have to do it. And I don't think it's we're having to take time out of our class schedule, out of our daily schedule to work on that, because you know how poster does take time, and we have to meet to be able to discuss what we're going to plan and how we're going to purchase it and things like that. So I think maybe giving that responsibility to PTO instead, because our PTO is very hands-on and they're very involved in our campus. So I just think that that role fits them better because one, they're always on campus anyways, and two, they're always decorating for multiple events, and they even come up with other things on their own without even having to. For example, for Valentine's Day and for St. Patrick's before spring break, they had a gnome in your pocket little game that no one told them to come up with, but they wanted to do it out of their hearts. So I think that PTO would be able to do this more efficiently. They have extra time, they have the funds in their PTO account, and so I think that this decorating and coordinating and monitoring the school assembly would be a better role for PTO, because they don't have to take the time out of their class and out of their pocket and things like that to be able to set that up for the students. Not in a negative way. I'm just being in a little realistic way. Okay, let me go to the next part. The next one I wanted to talk about was the clerical duties. For example, I did mention this, I think it was last week discussions. Here in the little appendix K, it said selling tickets for lunch, that the front office would usually do that. Most of the time, actually, they don't want any money in the front. Whenever they're selling things, they want it directly to the teacher so that the money doesn't get lost, which is understandable. But for example, like I had mentioned, I think last week's discussion, they had us sell tickets, popcorn for chairs, which I don't agree with, because there's much more important things like a vacuum for the classrooms, because the carpets are really dirty. I think that would have been a better thing to fundraise for, and I would have gladly sold tickets for that, because selling tickets for new chairs I don't think is really that a priority. I feel maybe that's like a side thing that you can do. And then another one was maintaining permanent records. So the teachers here on this campus are responsible for updating their cumulative folders, which I'm not sure how this is done in the other schools. When I was in Corpus, I don't remember us ever touching that because it was during COVID. But when I was in the other grade levels, those teachers have taught at other schools, and they would tell me that the cumulative folders, the teachers would never touch them because the CA would do it, or the front office, the PEMS and attendance clerk would do that. Because we do take time out of it, and it's a lengthy process to be able to update them and do fill out the forms and things like that and put them where they belong. But I'm not sure how they do this in other schools. For me, I just think of it as okay, let's just do it and get it over with to get off my checklist, and then that's it. And then the last part here, I did want to mention was the special programs and services. For example, after school, I have not seen an administrator step in as the ASP coordinator. Usually I do see at least one admin after school. I used to say twice, but the other club finished, so now I stay once a week on Wednesdays. And so usually you just always see one admin after school around 5 who's still here, who kind of just monitors to make sure that the ASP students are go home and everything's fine and well. But usually here the coordinators of the ASP would be teachers who volunteer for it. They do get paid for it, which I would like to do it. I feel like it would be a good experience as kind of transition into admin role. But I know that it's a lot of work, and I do have a 1-year-old, and I'm just by myself, so I don't know if I'm ready to do that. Maybe next school year when he's 2, I can maybe try to do that or see if they will allow me. But that's one thing I'm interested in. But that's one thing I did want to mention, is that I have not seen the administrators like kind of step in for that role. It's more of like they just They're here, but they're working on what they need to work on, and then I'm just keep looking at my notes here, and then that's it. It's mostly the teachers who do that, but they do get paid for it, and it's volunteer based, so no one is really forcing them. I know that every school is different though. Some teachers are forced. When I first started here in my first year, they kind of did force us to do it, and then after that, as now it's just like, okay, who wants it and who doesn't. Okay. So the next part was just do any of these require any teaching or professional skills? I don't think so. Like I had mentioned, the coordinating and monitoring school assembly, I don't think that's a professional skill. I just think it's more kind of like a little mini party or a little event like that. I don't think you need a special skill for that, and you could easily hand that over to the PTO to do that. Clerical duties, I feel maybe you would need, maybe not a professional experience like in a university, but I think you would need to be maybe trained to do that. Maybe they could have like a training for that, and then maybe, I don't think PTO should do that though, because that's student important information, so you can't just throw that out there anywhere, because anyone can easily just take a picture of it. But maybe the front office would be able to do that instead, because I know, I'm just thinking of the upper grades too. They already have a lot of responsibilities and things they need to be doing, and then to add this onto them, that's probably a lot for them. For me, it's not as much responsibility or paperwork as in the upper grades, so I don't really mind doing it. Right now, it gives me something to do, so that's how I see it as. And then who could you reassign these to be able to make my teaching more effectively? Well, I just, like I mentioned, either PTO or the front office would be able to do that, and then that the teachers would be able to have more planning time to be able to give more to their students and prep the manipulatives that we need, because usually they need a lot of hands-on and visuals to learn, because just doing a worksheet, even in the little younger grades, it's just you can't grasp their attention like that. But I'll go ahead and stop here, and see you all next week.